Hi, Alyssa. Thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here, Matt.
Alyssa, what are the key components of positive behavior feedback?
When teachers provide positive feedback, the most important thing is for it to be behavior specific. We want students to know exactly why they're receiving positive feedback. And when we name the behaviors we want to see, it's going to increase the likelihood that students will engage in those positive behaviors again in our classroom.
Could you provide a few examples of what that sounds like in the classroom?
Of course, for teachers of younger students, behavior specific positive feedback could sound something like this. I love how you used a quiet hand and waited for me to call on you before you shared your answer, Ariana. Great job. For teachers of middle and high school students, a teacher might say, I appreciate how Michaela and Brandon started their bell ringer as soon as they walked in the classroom. As long as your praise is behavior specific and delivered in a way that's authentic for you and your students, you're doing it right.
What does the research show about that type of feedback?
Research shows that when teachers deliver frequent, behavior specific positive feedback, students are more engaged and less disruptive. This means students spend less time off task and more time learning from your fantastic teaching. Increasing the amount and quality of positive feedback you provide is a great way to quickly improve engagement in your classroom.
A lot of times, teachers will provide positive feedback to groups of students all at once. What's the best way to do that?
That's a great question. Giving praise to groups of students is efficient and effective. Just be sure to follow the same guideline of being behavior specific when you provide that praise. Here are a couple of examples of how you could deliver high quality positive feedback to a group of students. Everyone at table 3 is showing me they're ready for the next question by looking at the smartboard. Can we all follow their great example? Or, every student in my classroom is following directions and working silently on their lab write-up. I'm so impressed.
Last question. If a team is using Live School to document behavior corrections, what are the best practices for that?
A lot of times, students are disruptive or off task because they want attention from their teacher or their peers. If we provide students with attention when they're not meeting our expectations, it actually often reinforces their bad behavior. The first step to take is to reinforce the behavior expectation. For example, if a student yells out an answer instead of raising their hand, you could say, I'm so glad you want to share your thoughts with us. It's important for us to raise our hands before we share our answer to make sure we aren't talking over our classmates or teacher. That's how we show each other respect. Can you try that again? If an issue persists, your school might document those incidents in Live School. When documenting negative behavior, it's best practice to include a comment with some details about what occurred. Your team can use that data to troubleshoot behaviors and decide when we need to reteach expectations. Whenever possible, try to delay telling the student until you can do it in a personal and more private way, like leaning over at their desk or pulling them aside before they transition to a new class.
That's awesome. I know the teachers watching are going to appreciate these tips as we get started with a new school year. Thanks, Alyssa, so much for sharing your time.
You're welcome. Have a great school year, everyone.